begin in Russia, where massive military parade in the capital's Red Square marked the 70th anniversary of the end of the war between Nazi Germany and the USSR. The parade is easily the largest such event in decades, with close to 16,000 military personnel participating. Another 200,000 relatives of the war veterans have also marched. The other rallies are also taking place across the country. Russia lost 27 million lives in the war, and Russian President Vladimir Putin used his V-Day address to lament the huge loss of life and call for greater international cooperation.
I congratulate you on the 70th anniversary of victory in the Great Patriotic War. Today, while celebrating the sacred anniversary, we realize the scale of grandiose victory over the Nazis. We are proud that our fathers and grandfathers made it to overcome, defeat, and destroy this dark force. Hitler's mad gamble became a hideous lesson for the whole world. Then, in the 1930s, enlightened Europe did not instantly see the deadly threat of the Nazi ideology. And today, with 70 years having passed, history once again calls upon us to be mindful and vigilant. We should never forget that the ideas of racial superiority and uniqueness led to the bloodiest war in history.
Cuban President Raul Castro met with Pope Francis at the Vatican in a rare Sunday papal audience. The Cuban leader, who also met with Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi on his way back from a meeting in Russia, praised the Argentine pontiff for defending the poor while also thanking him for his role in easing relationships with the United States. The 83-year-old Cuban president added that the Pope's action impressed him so much that he might return to the church despite remaining a communist.
I said that if the Pope continues to talk as he does, sooner or later I will start praying again and return to the Catholic Church. And I am not kidding. I am a communist. The Cuban Communist Party did not allow it, but is being allowed now. It is a step forward.
Peru's government has militarized the southern region of Arequipa as anti-mining protests continue, claiming its third victim, this time a police officer. Since March 23rd, hundreds of local farmers have been protesting against Tia Maria mining project, saying copper will contaminate water supplies and destroy their crops. A regional 3-day strike has been called for May 12th. Guatemala's Vice President, Roxana Baldetti, handed her resignation to Congress on Friday. The move follows the Vice President's alleged involvement in a major corruption scandal, and it means that Baldetti loses her immunity. The state official is accused of having participated in a large-scale fraud in which she and at least 24 other high-ranking civil servants allegedly received bribes in exchange for lower taxes on imported goods. In recent weeks, thousands of citizens have been demanding the resignation of President Oro Perez Molina and Baldetti after an investigation uncovered the $130 million operation.
According to the Honduran Women Institute, the creation of an equal salary law for men and women, the creation of a women's office in some city councils, and campaigns against abuse and home violence are proof that the government has improved Honduran women's lives. But feminist organizations claim that this is not enough.
They are just trying to give us sweeteners when the situation is dire. This means that they are approving new laws that are only used to disguise the reality, structural problems that the state isn't solving, and we have seen a reverse in the rights we previously had. There are deeply ingrained problems that they don't lift a finger to change. Things like the decree that prohibits some birth control pills.
Honduras is the Central American country with the highest rate of femicides. Every 14 hours on average, a woman is violently killed. There is an impunity rate above 95% in cases of violence against women. On top of this, there are political leaders and campesino women who are being charged for protesting to defend their rights.
They have modified laws to persecute and criminalize human rights defenders. It's not only a case of trying to imprison feminist leader Gladys Lanza. There are also other cases. There are more than 700 campesinas that are facing court for their fight to defend their right to work the land.
For feminist leaders, the Honduran government should really face the problems that Honduran women deal with on a daily basis, instead of putting so much effort trying to convince people without any real proof of success. Gerardo Torres, Telesur, Central America.
As part of the agenda of the national campaign against institutional violence, the Argentine Congress held the third Federal Summit for Democratic and Popular Security on Friday. The event was attended by social, human rights and political movements, as well as relatives of victims of police violence. The initiative was organized by Member of Parliament Leonardo Grosso and counted on the participation of other local and national legislators.
To build an agenda on democratic and popular security, it's necessary to build a popular organisation and consciousness. We could say that is what this summit tries to do. It is a work we are carrying on during the entire year on a daily basis, but today is a day to make it visible.
The goal of the summit is to further the discussion about the need to build a security model able to overcome both police abuse and the judicial prejudice against the popular sectors.
What we have accomplished is a real cultural struggle. Today, we managed to ensure that in the case of institutional violence, the police version was not the first to be consulted, and that the families and the communities were also consulted.
The presence of long-time human rights activists that have become national officials reinforced the idea of a historical link between their struggle and the topic of the summit.
Those who do not have the cultural or economic possibility to prosper do not have to be persecuted by the Argentinian state. They do not have to be incarcerated. They do not have to be punished for being poor. We need to change.
The summit continued with several conferences, which counted on the participation of grassroots organizations that confront institutional violence daily, trying to build truly democratic and popular security forces. Laureano Ponce, Telesur, Buenos Aires.
As the Palestinian residents of the Gaza Strip are slowly recovering from the trauma of the latest Israeli war on the Gaza Strip, the Israeli side continues to violate the agreed Palestinian-Israeli truce on daily basis. This truce that was signed on August 2014 and ended 51 days of Israeli offensive on the Gaza Strip. Lately, yesterday's evening, it was reported that the Israeli side shot at Palestinian farmers in eastern Gaza City, injuring 3 Palestinian farmers. At the same time, the Israeli naval boats shot at Palestinian boats and also arrested 2 Palestinian fishermen off the coast of Gaza City. These kind of Israeli violations became something like a daily life for the people of Gaza.
An Egyptian court sentenced former President Hosni Mubarak and his 2 sons to 3 years in jail without parole today in the retrial of a corruption case. Last year, Mubarak was also convicted. Then in January, the High Court overturned the conviction and the case was retried. Mubarak, who ruled for 30 years, and his sons Gamal and Alaa may not have to serve any jail time for the corruption charges because they have already spent that amount of time in prison in other cases. Former Air Force commander was toppled from the presidency during the Arab Spring uprising that swept the region in 2011.
Finally for today, Sabrina Martin, mother of murdered teenager Trayvon Martin, spoke this week in Los Angeles at Manifest Justice, an art exhibition focused on the theme of social inequality. 150 artists have contributed to the exhibit, which aims to showcase art for social change. Artwork addresses issues such as police violence and the huge U.S. prison population.
Facts that have marked the course of history. Productions designed in the English language and made for the English-speaking world. This is Documentary. Watch it on telesur.net/English. Telesur, wherever the news, you'll be there.